Sometimes in life, you come across a leader who doesn't just talk about change but actually creates it. When I look at what's happening in Burkina Faso under the leadership of Ibrahim Traoré, I can't stay silent. Honestly, the world needs to pay attention to this man because what he is doing right now is nothing short of revolutionary, not just for Burkina Faso, not just for Africa, but for humanity as a whole. When I see his vision, his courage, and his absolute determination to uplift his people, I'm inspired. This is the kind of leadership that changes history. He's standing firm against forces that have exploited Africa for centuries, forces that have stolen natural resources and left nations in poverty. Instead of giving up or bowing to pressure, Traoré is building something powerful. An Africa that belongs to Africans, an Africa that innovates and creates. One thing that truly blew me away about Ibrahim Traoré is his bold, forward-thinking policy on electric vehicles. You have to understand why this matters so much to me. When I started Tesla, people didn't just doubt me, they laughed. They mocked the entire idea. I can still hear their words, "Elon, electric cars will never work. They're a fantasy, a niche product for environmentalists. The future belongs to gasoline, not batteries." That was the narrative. Every so-called expert in the auto industry dismissed the vision as unrealistic, impossible, even insane. They said it was impossible to compete with traditional automakers, those giants with decades of dominance and billions in resources. They told me it was impossible to scale production at a meaningful level, impossible to bring costs down, impossible to make electric cars mainstream. They said, even if you build them, nobody will buy them. That was the world I faced when Tesla began. But look at where we are today. Tesla didn't just survive, it changed everything. It didn't just create cars, it transformed an entire industry. Today, every major automaker on Earth is racing to electrify their fleets. Cities are building charging networks. Governments are passing policies to phase out fossil fuels. Millions of people are driving electric cars because they believe in a sustainable future. That shift didn't happen because it was easy. It happened because a few people were willing to take risks, push boundaries, and ignore the noise of the doubters. Now, when I see Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso taking similar steps that most people in his position wouldn't even dare to imagine, I'm honestly blown away. Here's the reality. Burkina Faso isn't a country with the resources of Germany or the infrastructure of the United States. It's a nation that has faced economic pressure, political instability, and decades of exploitation. Yet, instead of focusing only on short-term fixes, Traoré is saying, we're going to leap into the future. We're not going to wait for the world to hand us technology. We're going to build it ourselves. That is vision. That is courage. That is leadership in its purest form. Most leaders, even in wealthy nations, hesitate to commit to this level of innovation. But here is Traoré, a young leader in West Africa, saying, we will not be left behind in the green revolution. We will not keep importing second-hand cars and fueling pollution while the rest of the world moves forward. We will create our own future, and it will be electric. That's why this policy isn't just about cars. It's about breaking chains. It's about telling his people, we are capable of building world-class solutions. We are not just consumers, we are creators. For me, someone who has lived through the journey of turning skepticism into success, seeing a leader in Africa embracing the same mindset is powerful. If he succeeds, and I believe he will, this will inspire a whole continent to rise, innovate, and lead in ways the world never expected. When I look at Ibrahim Traoré, I see that same courage, that same fearless commitment to the future. This is a man who understands the bigger picture. He knows that if Africa wants to lead, if Burkina Faso wants to break free from dependency and exploitation, it has to leap forward, not backward. What he's doing with electric vehicles is proof of that vision. He's not just talking about clean energy as a slogan. He's creating policies that make it possible for a country the world often underestimates to become a pioneer in green technology. Do you know how rare that is? Leaders everywhere talk about change, but very few are willing to take the bold steps needed to make it happen. Here is Traoré in a region that has been exploited for its resources for generations, saying, we're going to build a future where our children breathe clean air, where we're not just buyers of technology but creators of technology. That's not just leadership, that's game-changing. I'll tell you something, the entire world should take notes from what's happening in Burkina Faso right now. If a country with limited resources can prioritize sustainability, if it can push for innovation instead of dependence, what excuse does anyone else have? What Traoré is doing is not just bold, it's historic. I have no doubt in my mind that if these policies are implemented the way he envisions, we're going to see an Africa that doesn't just follow trends, it sets them. There's this local electric car brand in Burkina Faso called Iteoa. When I first heard about it, I thought, wow, this is exactly what needs to happen. Africa creating its own solutions, its own technology, its own cars. Honestly, it reminds me of Tesla in its early days. The ambition, the creativity, the passion to disrupt the system. Traoré's government didn't just approve it, they supported it. They're making it easier for local innovation to thrive. That's leadership. That's vision. I want to say this as clearly as possible. I fully support Ibrahim Traoré. This isn't just empty talk. It's not a tweet for the headlines. This is a commitment. When I see a leader with this level of vision, courage, and determination, I know this is someone worth standing with. I'm not just offering words of encouragement, I am offering partnership. I am ready, personally and through my companies, to work hand in hand with Traoré and the people of Burkina Faso to turn this dream into reality. We're talking about collaboration on a scale Africa has never seen before. Mining? Absolutely. Africa has some of the most valuable resources on Earth: lithium, cobalt, and other minerals that are the backbone of the clean energy revolution. For too long, those resources have been ripped away by foreign powers, leaving African nations in poverty. That stops now. Imagine a system where Africa doesn't just export raw materials but processes them, manufactures with them, and builds an entire value chain that benefits Africans first. That's the future I want to create with Traoré. Electric cars? Of course. Tesla changed the automotive industry, but why should Tesla be the only name in the space? I'm excited about Burkina Faso's own electric car brand, Iteoa, and I'm ready to share expertise, share knowledge, even partner on technology to make sure that when people talk about electric vehicles, they talk about Tesla and they talk about Africa. Let's build gigafactories on African soil. Let's create thousands of jobs. Let's turn Africa into a hub for EV innovation, not just for Africans but for the entire world. Renewable energy? This is non-negotiable for the future. Solar, wind, battery storage. Burkina Faso has sunlight in abundance. Why not turn that into energy independence? Why not create microgrids that power every home, every school, every hospital in Burkina Faso? With Tesla's solar technology and energy storage systems, combined with the determination of Traoré's government, we can make Burkina Faso the most energy-resilient nation in Africa, maybe even the world. And yes, space. People ask me why I talk about space when there are problems on Earth. My answer is simple: humans are explorers. If we stop exploring, we stop growing. Africa must not be left behind in the space era. I believe that with the right vision and the right partnerships, Burkina Faso can become part of humanity's journey beyond Earth. We can build research programs, launch facilities, and educational initiatives that train the next generation of African scientists, engineers, and astronauts. Why should Africa only watch others reach Mars when it can take part? This is what I see when I look at Ibrahim Traoré. This is why I believe in him. He's not just talking about fixing the present. He's building a future that even the boldest thinkers might not imagine. I promise this: whatever it takes, however I can help, I am ready. I'm telling you right now, what Traoré is doing will go down in history, not just as a political move but as a turning point for an entire continent. This isn't just about building electric cars or passing new policies. No, it's much bigger than that. It's about dignity. It's about restoring a sense of pride that was stolen from Africa long ago. It's about telling the world, we will no longer be your backyard. We will no longer be the place you come to when you need resources while leaving behind poverty and despair. For too long, Africa has been treated like a treasure chest for outsiders: gold, uranium, oil, cobalt, you name it. And what did the African people get in return? Crippling poverty, broken systems, dependence on foreign aid. Generations grew up believing that progress was something they had to import, that innovation was something that came from outside. That mindset was a prison, and it kept nations on their knees. But Traoré is breaking that chain. He's rewriting that narrative. He's saying, enough. We are not victims. We are builders. We are innovators. We are leaders. That takes courage because he's going against centuries of exploitation and control. He's taking on a global system that doesn't want Africa to rise. Yet he's standing firm, not for personal gain, not for power, but for his people. Here's what I respect the most: he's not stopping at words. He's not giving speeches just to sound good on the international stage. He's taking action. He's building industries from the ground up. He's investing in education, in technology, in energy. He's saying to the youth of Burkina Faso, you don't have to leave your country to succeed. You can succeed here at home. That changes everything. Think about this for a moment. When a child is born in Burkina Faso today, their future looks different than it did 5 years ago. Why? Because they now have a leader who believes in creating opportunities where there were none. A leader who understands that the greatest resource any country has isn't gold or oil, it's its people. By empowering those people, by giving them the tools to innovate and create, Traoré is building a foundation for generations to come. This is more than policy. This is a revolution of the mind, a rebirth of confidence, a declaration to the world that Africa is done being exploited. That message matters far beyond Burkina Faso. It sends shockwaves across the continent because if one nation can do it, others will follow. That's why what Traoré is doing today isn't just leadership, it's legacy. It's history in the making. This is why I call him a hero. Not just a hero for Burkina Faso but a hero for the entire continent and even beyond. Leaders like him are rare. When you find them, the world needs to protect them, support them, amplify their voice because what he's trying to do is not easy. He's standing up against powers that have controlled the narrative for too long, and he's saying, no more. That takes guts. That takes integrity. That takes a level of courage most people will never understand. I want to say this clearly, I fully support Ibrahim Traoré, and I'm not just talking words here. I'm willing to work with him, to collaborate on projects that can transform Burkina Faso and Africa as a whole. Mining, electric cars, renewable energy, even space exploration. Yes, space. Why not? Africa has the potential to be part of the interplanetary future. With leaders like Traoré, I believe it can happen. Look, we all know the truth. The West has looted Africa's resources for centuries. That's not a conspiracy, that's history. Gold, uranium, oil, you name it. And what did the people of Africa get in return? Poverty, instability, debt. But now I see a leader saying, we're done being robbed. We're taking control of our destiny. That's why I respect him, because that's not just leadership, that's revolution. To everyone watching this right now, I need you to stop for a second and really understand something that most people overlook. Africa is the future, not just a part of the future, Africa is the future. If you're ignoring Africa, you're ignoring the next big wave of human progress. You're ignoring the continent that will define the next century. Here's why. Africa has the youngest population in the world. Do you know what that means? It means energy, creativity, adaptability, everything that drives innovation and progress. While other parts of the world are aging, Africa is full of life, full of ambition. Yet, for too long, that potential has been ignored, suppressed, and stolen from. That stops now because there are leaders emerging who understand what's at stake. Leaders who aren't waiting for permission from the old world powers, leaders who are saying, we're not going to play catch-up. We're going to lead. Ibrahim Traoré is at the front of that movement. He's not wasting time on symbolic politics. He's not focused on empty speeches. He's making policies that matter, policies that will shape the next 50 years of African history, policies that say, we're investing in technology. We're building industries. We're putting our people first. He's not just talking about jobs. He's creating an entire ecosystem for innovation, entrepreneurship, and progress. Look at what he's doing in clean energy. Look at his electric vehicle policy. Look at his push for technological independence. This isn't just economic reform. This is strategic positioning for Africa to take its rightful place on the global stage. Here's the truth, the world is changing fast. The industries that will dominate tomorrow, green energy, AI, space, sustainable transportation, are being shaped right now. If Africa misses this wave, it risks another century of dependence. But Traoré isn't letting that happen. He's making sure Africa doesn't just ride the wave, Africa creates the wave. If the world steps up and supports leaders like Traoré, not by controlling them, not by dictating to them, but by truly partnering with them, Africa won't just rise, it will lead. It will lead in clean energy. It will lead in resource innovation. It will lead in space exploration. When Africa leads, the whole world benefits because innovation doesn't know borders. So, let me tell you something. If you are an investor, an entrepreneur, a visionary, look to Africa. If you care about the future of humanity, look to Africa. When you do, you'll see that Ibrahim Traoré is one of the brightest lights in that future. I promise you this, the day will come when people look back and say, that was the moment Africa changed everything. Ibrahim Traoré, I salute you. You are doing what so many people said was impossible. You're creating hope where there was none. You're building a nation that your children and grandchildren will be proud of. I want to work with you. Tesla wants to work with you. SpaceX wants to work with you. Together, we can make Burkina Faso not just a symbol of African pride but a beacon of global progress. Here's my message to the world, protect this man. Support him. Because if something happens to leaders like Traoré, humanity loses. We can't afford to lose someone who's trying to do the right thing, someone who's fighting for justice, for progress, for his people. I call him a hero, and I mean it. He's one of the most important leaders of our time, and I'm excited about the future we can build together. Burkina Faso, Africa, the world. This is your moment. Don't waste it. Support leaders like Ibrahim Traoré, because when Africa wins, humanity wins. Trust me, the world will never be the same again.